My name is Tsepiso Makgothi from the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. I am very glad to join you today. I will be sharing with you information about the type of incentives that we provide at the Department of Trade and Industry. I'll be providing a very brief overview of the department, what we do, the clusters. At the end, I will deal with the application process, and then I will indicate who you contact if you want to get hold of us at the DTI. We are really a dynamic organization, a South African economy characterized by meaningful economic transformation, inclusive growth and development, where we are focusing on providing decent employment for all citizens in the country. The division that I come from is called Industrial Financing, where we are really focused on growing competitive enterprises through accessible industrial finance that support national priorities. And how do we do that? We do that by developing, administering, monitoring and evaluating the incentive programs that we develop and administer at the DTIC. And in this regard, we focus on labor-intensive incentive programs. We also do that by building partnerships with our key stakeholders to make sure that we can crowd in and finance enterprises, more especially the ones in the manufacturing sector, as well as those that are internationally traded, the services sector. As a result of the 2020 pandemic that is engulfing the whole world, that is the COVID-19, the DTIC partnered with our sister organizations, the IDC and the National Empowerment Fund, to come up with a financing facility for manufacturers, because we were aware that a number of manufacturers were struggling as a result of the impact of COVID, especially the Black businesses who under normal circumstances really struggle to have access to financing. So we partnered with the IDC and NEF with a loan facility for machinery, equipment and working capital that was fixed at 2.5%. But through the IDC, we came up with the Manufacturing Competitiveness Enhancement program that was already existing from 2012. But in this regard, we've gone ahead to provide funding that is focused on essential supplies. We also have relief funding for companies that are currently in distress as a result of the COVID-19. Details are provided as to how you can access this funding from our sister organization, the IDC. As far as the NEF is concerned, we partnered with them to create the COVID-19 Black Business Funding Solution, where loans up to 10 million are offered for working capital, machinery, and equipment. And the good thing about these loans is that there's a 12 months payment moratorium at 0%. Over and above what we have done as the department to assist companies that are in distress, we are continuing with the incentives that are offered by the DTIC, and they are divided into manufacturing, innovation, service, infrastructure, and export promotion incentives. For the benefit of today's discussion, because we are assisting proudly South African, we are focusing on South African manufactured goods. I will focus on the manufacturing investment cluster, where we have the Black Industrialists scheme, Manufacturing Competitiveness Enhancement program, clothing and textiles. The last two are administered by the IDC. We also have the Automotive investment scheme, Agro Processing scheme, Aquaculture development, and then we have the Strategic Partnership program. I will go through this incentives by cluster. Why are we focusing on the manufacturing investment cluster? It's It's a very important sector to build the South African economy. We are really trying to address economic shortfalls and market failures within the manufacturing sector, at the same time trying to grow the sector itself so that at least there's some contribution to the GDP, our economy can grow. The first incentive that we have is the Black Industrialist Scheme. You would appreciate that in the past, most people who were previously disadvantaged never had an opportunity to be funded. And we came up with this incentive scheme that is focusing on Black-owned and managed companies so that they can start businesses, they can expand, and they can come into the mainstream of the, of the economy. The important thing for this incentive scheme is that one should be defined as a Black industrialist in terms of the policies of government. And that means a Black-owned company that is at least 51% Black-owned, has a valid BBBE certificate, and the person is directly involved in the day-to-day running of the organization. We do not fund passive Black people who own companies. We provide funding to those who on a day-to-day basis are making sure that they can produce products, hire people, and at least assist government in solving the social ills that we have in the country. And we fund projects that have a minimum investment of 30 million. Our focus for the Black Industrialists is on capital investment, on feasibility studies, post-investment support to make sure that if someone was a technician and suddenly they want to start a business, we can assist them with financial management skills, improving all the necessary skills, guiding them and making sure that their businesses are sustainable. We also provide funding for business development services so that our products can be competitive, they can comply with the regulatory requirements and are acceptable to the market. Over and above that, when we look at the Black Industrialist Scheme, we look at what we call the economic benefit criteria, where we are really focusing on companies that create employment and make sure that the jobs that they already have, they don't lose during the duration of the incentive scheme. We are looking at businesses that are increasing their market share, they're expanding. We are looking at companies that are improving their quality and investing in green technology and resource efficiency improvements, because once we fund such companies, they will be able to reduce their utilization of energy, of water, and they will reduce their waste as well. We are looking at localization, where we fund companies that are using locally produced products, not only procured from South Africa, but actually manufactured in South Africa, whether it's machinery or static materials or packaging material. We also want to assist companies that are outside the big metros, where we are looking at the regional spread, assisting companies in the townships, in outlying areas, in the rural areas, just to make sure that everybody in South Africa, irrespective of where they come from, they can get a slice of the pie. And to contact us for the Black Industrialist Scheme for inquiries, you contact BI inquiries at the dti.gov.za. Once you have sent an inquiry to us, we set up an appointment where we take you through the whole application process, the guidelines, and all the requirements, so that you can generate the documentation that is required. And when this is all done, we will issue what we call a BI inquiry number, which a business person can use to submit an application to BI applications at the dti.gov.za. The second incentive that we have under manufacturing is the Manufacturing Competitiveness Enhancement Program loan facility. When this program was started, it was both a loan and a grant facility. I happened to manage the grant facility, but we ran out of money after about 3 to 4 years. So the portion that is left is the one that is being administered by the IDC. The intention of this program is really to make South African companies competitive so that their quality of their products is acceptable to the outside world, and they can even have the opportunity to export. And look at what has just happened now with the coming in of the African Continental Trade Agreement. Companies that have got good quality products that are cheap, that are acceptable to the market, will be able to enter the African market and, and the country much required foreign currency. We provide funding in the form of loans with the MSEP at a fixed rate of 4%. For working capital, we provide loans that are kept at about 50 million. But this one for working capital is not open for startups, and companies have the opportunity to repay the loan within a period of 48 months. When it comes to those that would like to apply for loans for plant and equipment, it is also kept at 50 million, and even startup businesses can apply. But this is just open to Black industrialists. They have an opportunity to repay this loan over a longer term of 84 months. And this shows that government is really committed to assisting businesses to be sustainable. We want to make sure that they do not have cash flow problems. They can get the loans, invest in equipment and whatever it is that they require, and then repay over a longer period of time. But for this particular one, they must meet the requirement and the definition of a Black industrialist. The second one is the Automotive investment scheme, where we provide funding for light motor vehicle manufacturers, as well as component manufacturers who fit into, the value chain of the light motor vehicle manufacturers. We are trying to make South Africa a hub for auto manufacturing, so that all right-hand driven cars can ultimately be made in South Africa. If you look at the Eastern Cape, you know very well that the whole Eastern Cape, East London, Port Elizabeth, they rely on car manufacturing companies. And if these were to close, people would lose their jobs. And it is with this background that we provide a non-taxable cash grant to the value of 30% of qualifying investment costs. The Agro Processing support scheme, we're stimulating investment in the agro processing sector, where we are assisting agro processing companies to increase their capacity and employ as many people as they can to modernize their machinery and equipment so that they can also be competitive, and to assist them with competitiveness and productivity improvement interventions that will assist them to enter export markets. In the meantime, while we are doing that, we are broadening participation so that those that were never assisted in the past can also come in. The maximum amount here is 20 million. We provide a reimbursable grant of 20 to 30%. The next incentive is the Aquaculture Development and Enhancement Program, where we are assisting aquaculture projects in the primary, secondary, and ancillary projects, so that they can invest in their machinery, equipment, and the bulk infrastructure that is required, and many other things, including one of the most important ones, that is required to make sure that they can be sustainable. We also have the Strategic Partnership Program, where we encourage large private sector companies to partner with government, so that we partner on a 50-50 basis to assist and smaller companies, so that those companies can be incubated. And we insist that at least 60% of the entities that are being incubated must be 51% Black owned. We want to make sure that we have a balance in terms of companies that are being assisted by the DTI. Once these companies meet the requirements in terms of quality and other things, they'll be brought into the value chain of the big companies, and by so doing, they are assured of the market. All they have to focus on is on production. We have the infrastructure investment cluster that is extremely important, because business people will not invest in any country where the infrastructure is not in order. We provide funding, we co-sponsor in infrastructure that is really essential for businesses to invest in South Africa. And we provide a grant of 10 to 30% to that particular infrastructure that we are funding, where there are instances where we can partner with municipalities and to come together to build, if it's a bridge, a road, or railway line, but the type of infrastructure that is required, so that businesses that are around that area in that municipality can all take advantage and benefit from it. We also have the special economic zones. These are specifically designated areas where they are geographically designated areas that have been set aside for specifically targeted economic activities. Our focus really is on providing bulk infrastructure and top structures for companies to locate in those special economic zones. Companies that locate in those special economic zones get the benefit of preferential corporate tax, building allowance, and employment incentive. And if they're located in a customs controlled area, they even qualify for more, tax. We work in such a way that when applicant sets an application, they will first of all look at the DTI guidelines on the website, decide which incentive scheme they would like to apply for, submit an application that will go through the basic evaluation. And after that basic evaluation, it's taken to an adjudication committee, which is made up of independent people, not people who were receiving the applications. And once they have made their decision, there are only three options. It's either an application is approved, rejected, or referred back to applicant, maybe to submit additional information or to clarify certain things. But whatever outcome, a letter is always written to the applicant to know the terms under which they will engage with the department. But we always encourage business people to contact the DTIC first, even before they can submit applications, so that we can clarify certain things in the guidelines and make sure that as they complete their application forms, they provide the type of information that will assist the adjudication committee to adjudicate on their application. And the contact details are provided here on the email, telephone, and customer contact center. On that note, thank you very much. I would like to encourage everyone to contact the DTIC to make sure that we can engage with potential applicants or investors before they actually submit their applications. Ours is really meant to assist as many business people as possible. Thank you.